God. Okay? So, if we want to be reconnected to Mama, then we have to reconnect with God, and then we can be sure that on the last day, we shall see her again. There is still hope for reconnection. There is still hope for another fellowship, which will be eternal. Glory be to God. So I want you to think of that death simply means separation. And that brings me to the second contemplation. The second contemplation is that there are different kinds of death. Different kinds of death. The Bible talks about three principal ones. Number one is physical death, which is the one that most human beings are familiar with. When somebody stops breathing and all the vital signs of life are missing, no more pulse, no more blood pressure, the heart has stopped, blood is no longer circulating, and the medical personnel will certify that person death. That's the death that many people are familiar with, but that's just one out of three types of death. That's what is called physical death or biological death. But there's a second kind of death, which is spiritual death. And that's the one the Bible talks about in Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 1, that you who were dead in sin and trespasses. In other words, if a man is still walking, blood is still flowing through his veins, his heart is still beating, the man can still talk, but the man is separated from God. Don't forget, our first contemplation is that death is separation. If that person is still separated from God, does not know God, is not related to God, does not fellowship with God, that person is spiritually dead. And even our fathers and our parents understand this concept very well. That's why when somebody dies in the neighborhood, those of us who are from the southwestern part of Nigeria who speak Yoruba language, if somebody dies in the neighborhood and they say, oh, somebody has died down the road, you know the way the Yorubas will say it? In other words, a dead man has just died. In other words, koto ku okuni. Nítorí kíni kò mọ Jésù. A ti yà á nípa kúrò lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Ẹnikẹ́ni tí a bá sì ti yà nípa kúrò lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run, bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé lójú tiwa òun tó ń wà láàyè, síbẹ̀ òkú ni Bíbélì pè irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀. Yẹn ni oríṣi òkú kejì tí a ń sọ. Oríṣi àkọ́kọ́ ni ẹni tí kò mímọ́, tó ti gbẹ́mìí mì, tó ti lọ bí àgbáre. Ìkejì ni ẹni tó sì wà láyé tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ tó ń rìn, ṣùgbọ́n tá a ti ya nípa kúrò lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ òkú ni òun náà. Tó bá tún wá gbẹ́mìí mì, wọ́n wá ní òkú kan ṣe kí ni ó kú níbẹ̀ yẹn. So the second type is this spiritual death. Separation from God. Separation from the love of God. And the third type is what the book of Revelation refers to as the second death. And that is the death that is eternal separation from God. Now, anybody who is still spiritually dead today, but still physically alive, can still reconcile with God and be quickened and come alive. But anyone who dies without Christ and crosses to the other side, that person is eternally separated from God. No hope of reconciliation again. You can pray all the prayers, may his soul rest in peace, and you are just wasting your saliva, wasting your breath. Because the Bible says in Hebrews chapter 9 verse 27, it is appointed unto man to die only once, and after that comes